Hi guys, Charmel here. So part of the campaign of Courageous Conversations we've been having in August, I invited Emma. She's a seasoned business professional, and I'll hand over to her to introduce herself. Emma, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Charmel, for the opportunity to chat to you. Like you said, my name is Emma Mashilwane, and I'm an accountant, unfortunately, or fortunately. I'm the majority shareholder and founder of MASA Risk Advisory Services. I co-founded MASA in May 2018, and we focus on providing internal audit, risk advisory, and IT assurance to our clients. We recently established MASA Chartered Accountants as well, which is an external audit practice. And yeah, we are based in Woodmead. We've got about 27 permanent employees at the moment. And we've got a variety of clients, mainly in the private sector listed entity space. And we are an ESD firm of the Auditor General. So that has really helped us to give us access into the public sector, but more in a protected way, because the private sector can be, the public sector can be a bit rough for emerging businesses, especially from a cash flow point of view. So we are very fortunate that we do a lot of the work through the Auditor General. And if I just look at our business, I mean, we were deliberate around how we spread the type of clients that we have. For me, like I was saying, for a small business, cash is king. Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So it's very important for us that when we started the business, we wanted to make sure that we, I have a lot more access to the private sector to secure our annuity income. And that was a deliberate strategy. And it has really worked well from making sure that we've got consistent cash flows within the practice. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's who I am. That's what MASA is here for.
So thanks for the introduction. Emma, so when you take up, what is courage to you when you take up your seat at the table? What does that mean to you? What does it embody?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Hey, courage. I think a lot of people take up a seat at the table when they're invited, and they forget to have the courage to use their voice. And that's one thing for me that I've always, throughout my career, made it very important that you are fortunate to be invited into any table. And you need to, as a woman in particular, make sure that you use your voice to stand up for what is right. And what is right is different for different people. But personally, as a Black female, in South Africa in 2020, I look back on the strides of other women, what they've managed to achieve, and what generation and generation of women have struggled to achieve. And it's always centered around using our voice, having a courage to speak truth to power, whether it's about inequality in the workplace, whether it's about gender-based violence, whether it's about, the abuse of young girls, access to education of rural girls. I'm a rural girl. I was fortunate that there were many women in our village that we looked up to, that dispel the stereotypes around girls cannot be chartered accountants, girls cannot be engineers. So it's those voices of those courageous women, including my own mother and my own grandmother, who were very strong community leaders in my village, who really used their voice. And for me, we as women in 2020, and also for the future generations, we must teach young girls that they have a voice. A lot of people sit at the table and they look around to try and find their voice. No, You are born with a voice as a woman, as a human being. Have the courage to use your voice. And the other thing around having courage to use your voice is that sometimes you will be left alone. That courage of using your voice in a different way from the next person on the table will isolate you, right? Will put you in a different spot. And it will be easier sometimes to drop your voice and follow other voices. So for me, it's very important that you stick to using your own voice. You've got your voice. It's the only power that you have to share what it is that you are about. So for me, that is very important for me. And then also the other thing is, you know, as a professional and especially as a Black woman entrepreneur, it's important that every day I have the courage to do the right things. And what do I mean by that? It's easy to say, I will overlook certain things because I need to pay salaries, I need to pay the bills. You know, you look at your commercial commitments versus what is the right thing to do. For me, the two have to work hand in hand. So it all comes with having the courage to always stand for what is ethical. It's easy to get business through whatever means that you want, but it's easy to also lose your credibility. As a professional, the only thing that we have is our integrity. And that's why it becomes very, very important to always be courageous and ethical. We must never forget that without integrity and the courage to say no to corruption, no to malfeasance, no to underhand stuff, we have nothing. That's all we have. All we have is our integrity. Once you lose the courage to say no, you're literally giving away your right to future business, because that's the end of your business. Because as a professional, all we have is our integrity. And it's not easy to measure integrity. I know all of us have been ingrained as professionals that we have to have integrity, we have to live by the code of ethics, but it's not always easy to measure whether or not we are, in fact, at all times. Remember, being courageous is about being ethical all the time. It's not when Charmel is trying to check my code of ethics compliance that I need to be courageous and say no. It has to be ingrained in me that I will stand for what is right. And it takes courage. I mean, if you look at a lot of the corruption and whistleblowers who have stood up for what is right, it was about courage. And sometimes that courage led them to be exposed, to have, being followed, being threatened, feeling that they will never be employable, etc., etc. So once you understand what it means to be ethical and to have the courage to be ethical, you also need to understand that you need to have the courage to see your decisions through, because it's not always going to be a good story in the short term. Yes, in the long term, if the law takes its course, you will reap the benefits. But courage is a very difficult thing, because it's not always, unfortunately, gonna lead to a positive results all the time. So, yeah.
So Emma, thank you so very much for sharing your wisdom with us. And as a professional and as a mom of two young girls, I can definitely see that I need to teach them to use their voices. So thank you so very much. Much appreciated. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.